now? Can somebody just who's at home just let us know?
Yeah.
You did. Okay. All right. So for those of you who missed it, we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to restate the beginning of the mayor's report because there's a very limited audience here today. So thank you to the Recreation Department, our Department of Public Works, and Emergency Services for a really great fireworks event on June 30th. It is a wonderful Verona tradition, and it was great to see it again. Thank you to Mayor Roman for setting off the fireworks officially, for helping out the DJ when the sound stopped working. It was much more interesting and spontaneous the first time I said it, but you know, don't want anybody to lose out on me listening. Secondly, the Verona Policemen's Benevolent Association, Verona Rescue Squad, and Essex County Sheriff's Department, EBA, are sponsoring GoFundMe for the City Sheriff's Officer Mark Steinberg, who is also a member of the Verona Rescue Squad and the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinators for Verona. Please consider supporting Mark, who has helped over 1,000 Verona residents and was critical to our recovery efforts for Hurricane Ida. Mark is battling a very rare and aggressive form of cancer, and he's fighting a great fight. You can see the Facebook pages of one of the sponsoring groups. You can go to my mayor's Facebook page or go to my Verona NJ, which has posted a link as well. And to consider contributing, I want to thank my fellow council members for contributing right away as well to show our support. And finally, on Monday, July 3rd, there was a fire and smoke condition in certain areas of the west side of the Claridge 2 condominium apartment building. This resulted in what became a 12-hour emergency response and operation that included 13 fire departments, 11 emergency medical services, 3 police departments, and local and county offices of emergency management. The efforts of these agencies through scene response and coverage of concurrent municipal emergencies ensured that the fire was controlled, threats to life and property were minimized, and that the township remained safe and protected. The 12-hour operation culminated with the coordinated safe evacuation of residents from units in the west side of the building with the help of multiple police, fire, EMS, and emergency management agencies. Throughout the complex incident, officers, members, and staff of the Verona Fire Department, Rescue Squad, Police Department, Office of Emergency Management, Bureau of Fire Prevention, Department of Public Works, and Office of the Construction Official demonstrated their abilities to lead and operate a thoughtful, professional response using the best practices of the incident command system. The effects of many years of training and drills were evident during those operations. Verona is very fortunate now and always to have such dedicated, talented volunteer emergency service personnel and municipal career staff. The best of Verona was really evident last Monday. The dais was also well represented during the response. Mrs. Kiernan, our township clerk, assisted with documentation and logistics. There are very few people I would trust with not only my American Express card, but the keys to my house and my dog to run around and get items that were necessary for the response. Mr. Diarco, township manager, despite being 100 miles away on a motorcycle, answered the phone and dealt with spending authorizations without hesitation. Mr. Lawyer, our township attorney, answered legal questions on the first ring, answered that phone. Councilman Holland and Graff assisted our temporary relocation area at the community center, and Deputy Mayor McAvoy assisted with logistics on scene. Chief Kiernan, who's in the room, and I work together as the emergency management coordinators on the scene. Also want to thank Nick Amato, John Rollo, and Kathleen Bren of the Claridge House 2 board and management for their assistance throughout. We will be recognizing all township and mutual aid emergency services partners at our July 24th meeting. I did compose letters of appreciation with an invitation to this meeting, and Mrs. Kieran has ensured that they are getting out to all the parties, and I appreciate that. So we will be addressing that at our next meeting. Look forward to having some folks in the audience. And that concludes my report. Mr. Diarco.
Thank you, man.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jay Poultry.
Oh, yeah.
Jay, you have to
Sorry, Jay.
just bear with me on the first time. Next time I'll call you first.
That's quite all right. Any particular podium?
You sound-
Good evening, and hopefully we're all doing well. Congratulations, Mayor, on your election as mayor, and to all council people, congratulations who were newly elected, from myself and the county executive, Joseph Vincenzo. We're into summer. This coming Friday at Brookdale Park is the Breeze. And on Tuesday, July 11th, Wassesing Park will have Epic Soul. And both of those start at 7 p.m. There, like I said before, there's an array of things happening throughout the county, festivals and band, etc. happening. Starting Saturday, July 15th through July 29th, there will be a butterfly tent safari at the Environmental Center. And it is $8 per person. Children under 1 are free. And there's a registration, and you should call 973-228-8776. And the hours are Monday to Friday, 12 to 3 p.m. Saturday, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. They are from 10:30 to 1:30 p.m. And the Very Hungry Monarch Caterpillar, etc., etc., etc. So you can learn about butterflies and caterpillars. So moving on to, let's see what else I have here. I have a Senior Wellness Day, which is in October at the Cody Arena, Tuesday, October 3rd, from 10 to 2. There's a lot of medical people there checking blood pressure, etc. A lot of we do give out some food to people who need it, and other medical providers there, whether it's Prudential, healthcare, etc. I do have something else here once I find it. Give me a second. I also have summer movies. And we have Zoomies, and July 12th, it's going to be Madagascar, and that's Under the Stars at the Turtleback Zoo parking lot. And on July 19th, we will have Luca, and on July 26th, we will have Godzilla, the King. So the zoo is very, very active. So is all of our. We are opening also our Burn Golf Course on July 27th at noon. You should, if you're a golfer, you should be looking to start looking for tee times at all of our golf courses. But I toured it the other day. I'm very, very excited. If you're a golfer, you will also be. We have put a significant amount of bunkers in there so you can get in trouble, but it looks very, very nice, and please come out and enjoy it. Any questions, comments, Mayor? What did I shoot? I walked.
Any questions for Mr. Polcher?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Always good to see you. And before I turn over to Mr. Diaco, there are 2 mayor's appointments on the agenda. The first is to be Library Board of Trustees. President Ben Blinder has recommended that we reappoint Michelle Brouet as the mayor's alternate, and happy to do so tonight. Also for the planning board, Deputy Mayor McAvoy is being appointed this evening as the mayor's designee for the planning board to fill in. Any questions on any of those?
I'm sorry, who's the president of the library board of trustees?
Ben Blinder.
Okay. I thought Ms. Kay Kelly was the president.
No, they transitioned.
Okay.
Right. And that's it, Mr. Diaco, town manager.
Thank you, Mayor. On my agenda, and in an effort to shorten my time for the meetings for the public, items number 3 and 5 on my agenda are 2 interlocals that are being explored with the West Essex managers on our behalf. That's on the animal control, and the other one is on fire prevention. I have a meeting coming up next week on that. The rate study, I have received a proposal on the rate study. That's item number 4. I will be circulating that while I'm reviewing it and studying, so we can really start to undertake that. That may be contingent on the availability of funds, which means it'll be moved through a 2024 budget. A number of items are transferred back from the Director of Administration and Economic Development to my list. So some of those items I'll be reviewing as soon as reports are received, which includes the recreation field usage study. The Everett Field preliminary proposals concepts have been submitted to my office. I will be arranging for a meeting with the council on that alone. As we look at all the 2024 projects that the council had requested a special meeting on projects and also on the planner. So I'll be putting that in motion shortly for you as soon as we get the dates for proposed meetings from the council members. You've received the reports from Jacobs Engineering on the PFAS. That's moving very well. Permits are in. Boswell Engineering reports there's a 2-page report dropped in your council folder in an effort to get that information to the public, because it's a number of your projects. I'll be meeting with our public information officer on what we should be and how putting things on for the public on the website, so there's more access from the public and less time taken here. Jay Coltrane assisting me with coordinating meetings with the county engineer, and I appreciate that assistance, so I can go over a number of projects and requests that we have to the county engineering. Council still needs to set a township planning meeting and also a special meeting for your planner for your downtown and your zoning. There are a number of projects into the iBank, and one of those questions came up with the council. We put anything related to water and sewer into the iBank, which one it's reduced rates and you're not bonding for those projects through the normal process, which means you're paying for it as soon as you bond. In this case, in the iBank, you pay as you draw. There's also the potential of the federal government funding coming down. It will be coming down to states and to iBanks. And there is all those rumors about waiving the costs for municipalities to provide tax relief. So at least you're in position to be in the iBank and you have both options. Public safety complex, the staffs have from each of the services have met with the architect, provided all their requested needs and wants, focusing most on needs. The first redesign is happening. I'm not bringing this to the council yet until we're in a final position, so that we're not redoing and answering all your questions. And of those emergency services that are working very well together on this project, and they understand the target objective is with the efficiency in one facility of public safety, rather than doing multiple facilities, which would have been a drain on the taxpayer. There's an economy of scale, and they are working very well together. And that's all I have now. I should advise you on item number 22, Friends of the Park, the 501(c)(3). Steve is still chairing that for me, which will be a great help to us until when we need other members for that. Yeah, and that's all I have.
Thanks. There was one question that came in from a member of the public, and I think it might be a fair question that everybody else know about the process for hiring the deputy manager. If you could just share some details on what the process is.
I did answer the resident that the under our former government, it's under my selection and recommendation to the mayor and council. The mayor and council handles salary. And for the general public, right now we have, as of this afternoon when I responded to that resident, we had 16 applicants. As of 4:30, I had 20.
Okay.
I haven't decided on whether I'm going to do a rolling interview process or I will be wheeling it down. The other piece that I'm going to employ, which I've done in 2 cities previously, I pick or select a number of our key department heads to be part of the search committee. I'll provide them with all the resumes and applications. Independently, they provide me with their top order, and I take a look at a matrix to see what the top 3 candidates are that we'll interview. The reason I do that is there's 2 reasons that you want to select a manager. That one is professionally competent and has the experience, hopefully, that we can clean. And the other piece is that they have to be compatible with the workforce. They need to be able to work and interact with the workforce. So I'm looking for both qualities in a candidate. The closing date for applications, I think, is the 21st of this month. We advertised in the New Jersey Week magazine, which I did report that to you already previously. When asked at the last meeting, are we continuing the process? We are. I did remove a salary recommendation from the ad. It's going to be contingent upon the level of experience, education, et cetera, for the position. And that's where I am at this stage.
Thank you, Mr. Yorko. Any other questions for Mr. Yorko from council? None. We'll go to council member reports. Deputy Mayor Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to thank our staff for the wonderful fireworks display and for their work during the event. Our rec staff did a tremendous job keeping, let's say, the kids running around in line and trying to stay on the dugouts and jumping off the walls. I know they were running around and they did an excellent job taking care of all that. Also, the police, fire, and rescue squad that are always up there to make sure we're safe, and public works directing traffic with the police. It was a good night. Thankfully, we got them off, and the rain didn't bother us. I also would like to thank that same group in their response on July 3rd at the Claridge, witnessing it. You always have a respect for police, fire, and rescue, but being there and witnessing them in action was just a tremendous honor for me to see them and how good of a job they did organizing things. I stayed away from it. I was more towards Claridge 1 for most of the day, but hearing it from afar and seeing people get organized, and that's just the Verona members and the Verona EMS people. I can't thank others from other towns enough. There were so many others. I mean, the mayor mentioned all these other organizations. The Essex County Police were there, but so many fire departments kept pulling up, even like hours after. It was very, very, really scenic along. It was the residents of Verona really thank all those organizations for what they did. And thankfully, no one got seriously injured. And hopefully they'll get the building up and running 100% and everything back to normal up there. I also like to thank our Office of Emergency Management for their, as mentioned, their training for these events leading up to it. But to be able to open up the community center for those residents that are displaced, whether it's there or another emergency or even on high temperature days, I'm glad we have that facility and that it could be operated instantly. Our public works getting the seniors bus to transport residents up there was just tremendous. And for really everybody else in the town that jumped to it, bringing water up there and doing all they did was an unbelievable town-wide effort. But I got home that night, I think around 7:30, and I not thinking, said to myself, wow, I'm exhausted. And I didn't even do anything. I could only imagine all of the EMS people and how they felt the next day. And I mentioned July 3rd. That's when the event was, and the problem. But also a thank you to them for their days after. I mean, even a week later today, they get together, have a meeting, and discuss what went on. It's not just that day and the 12 hours that they were there. It continues through the week and even further. So I thank them all for their volunteers and their time. And one other thing I'm just gonna mention is Verona's summer concert series starts. Is it this Wednesday? Yes, it's this Wednesday, July 12th. Wednesday the 19th, Wednesday the 26th is what Verona set up. And in the past, we always did 4 weeks in the summer. So the Chamber of Commerce saw this and the Chamber decided to sponsor the next Wednesday, which is August 2nd. So we went out and found a band. It's going to be Defending Champions, who are a band of, I believe, all Verona high school student band people. So it's a really good band. So the Chamber of Commerce would like people to come out on August 2nd, but on every other Wednesday for the rest of the summer until August 2nd to enjoy the bands in the center of town, right behind us here in town center. So that's all I have for this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilman Roman.
Thank you very much. I'll be relatively brief since mostly the same items have been already covered. With regards to the fire at Claridge, I was unfortunately out of the country that day, but I did want to recognize that Chief Kiernan was doing an excellent job of sending us very detailed and routine updates on the situation. So even from far away, I was aware of what was happening. So I greatly appreciated that. And I heard of the wonderful responses by all of the departments, both within Verona and outside of that. I also wanted to recognize, Mayor Tamburo mentioned briefly, the construction code department and the fire inspector and all of the other officials that worked on this, both during and after the event. Our goal was to protect resident safety, obviously to try and be able to reoccupy the building as quickly as possible, but without compromising life safety. And I know that those folks do such a wonderful job of trying to make sure things can happen as quickly as possible. But again, with that constant emphasis on making sure that the building is in good occupiable condition. So I want to recognize their work as well. And then also just a comment, it's very good to be back for this forthcoming council term. I'm very much looking forward to continuing to work with everyone up here. We know a huge workload of projects, but I do believe very much in this group's ability to put these together and to keep everything moving. So I really look forward to continuing to deliver for our residents. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman McGrath.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Ms. Kiernan and all of the staff for the reorganization meeting that happened on July 1st. It's really a wonderful event, especially to have it on the steps of Town Hall. I just want to thank everyone from the public who came out that day. I too want to acknowledge and thank the first responders at Claridge. They did really tremendous work, and I know it was a great comfort to all of the residents of the Claridge to have Verona's best really working the situation. I, with Councilwoman Holland, went to the community center when we realized that residents were being diverted there and spent a lot of one-on-one time assisting them. And I do want to acknowledge Councilwoman Holland's entire family was there and were incredibly supportive of the effort. So thank you, Councilwoman Holland, to your entire family. Her girls even were leading a round of bingo to try to keep the residents entertained and, you know, their minds occupied as they were sitting there worrying about what was happening to their apartments. And we also assisted them when they were making final arrangements for hotels that night. I also want to say that in our region, we lost two very brave firefighters in a very devastating fire at the Port Authority in Newark. I just want to acknowledge that whenever we lose first responder in the area. And I also want to remind residents, parents, and young adults that swimming at Devil's Hole in Cedar Grove is off limits. Unfortunately, another loss of life there this weekend. And as a parent, my heart really goes out to the parents whose child passed this weekend. But please, parents, remind your children that they should not be exploring the waterways there. It's very dangerous. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Holland.
Thank you. I too want to just acknowledge all of the first responders and all of the effort that went into mitigating the situation at Claridge 2, as well as, you know, ensuring that all of the residents at the community center that were displaced actually were cared for. You know, I know Red Cross arranged for food And yes, my daughters did a rousing game of bingo, but also importantly, assisted with cell phones for a lot of the individuals there. So I'm glad that we were able to assist. In addition, as we're in July, I want to acknowledge, you know, some very extreme weather events that are going on. I mean, we've dealt with massive air quality issues as a result of the wildfires in Canada, you know, including on our fireworks night. So, you know, that's an ongoing issue. But in addition, we are in hurricane season. And, you know, we can very easily have devastating storms, and actually just an average thunderstorm can quickly create like a flash flooding event. So I do want to make sure that residents are always prepared. And I also want to acknowledge the township administration and DPW Superintendent Molinaro for ensuring that they're watching that weather and, you know, ready and able to address those issues and lower Verona Lake as needed, so that we can ensure that we are doing everything in our power to mitigate devastating circumstances for our residents. In addition, at our reorganization meeting on July 1st, we announced our new liaison positions. I am remaining the liaison to the Recreation Advisory Committee, so I'm looking forward to interfacing with those new members and really moving forward on some of our recreation endeavors here in the township of Verona. I think it's really important to ensure that we continue to invest in our future here in Verona and our children, but really recreation is for all ages. So from child all the way through the rest of your life, we have senior programming and everything. So I'm really looking forward to continuing to engage there. I'm also liaison to BMAC, and we will be having my first meeting next week as well. The Recreation Advisory Committee also meets next week. And I'm saying goodbye to the Verona Environmental Commission. I think we've done really great work over the last 2 years. So, you know, it's with a heavy heart, but I'm grateful for the time that I served as liaison there. So that concludes my report.
At this point, has become our custom to open for public comment. We are trying to make the meetings more accessible for members of the public. This is one of our commitments, but it is not listed on the agenda because it's not an ordinance for business. Madam Clerk, would you please read the public participation statement?
Yes. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any matter, please raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button on your monitor. If you're dialing in by Zoom, if you're dialing in by phone, please press *9. If you're in person, you may approach the lectern. Once you're recognized, clearly state only your name and township of residence for the record. You're not required to provide your street address. However, if you do, please note that these meetings will be posted on the township's YouTube channel and the addresses will not be redacted for any purpose. You'll have 4 minutes to address the council. There'll be no cross dialogue during this public comment, and after everyone wishing to speak has been heard, the council may address your comments and/or questions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to ask everybody in council chambers just to take your turn. Wait, everybody will
Any other
get a
questions?
chance to speak.
Yes.
Is the meeting open?
It is.
Right. Give another couple seconds. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the meeting. Public comment at this time. There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. We do not have any hearing on the adoption of ordinances this evening, because this will be the first meeting of our legislative session. But we do have several proposed ordinances, many of which we have discussed pretty extensively in new business in our previous meetings. But we will go through them at this time. These once again are on first reading. The next item on the agenda is ordinance H1 on first reading. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the ordinance into the record.
And amending the code of the Township of Verona to repeal Chapter 270 Flood Control and Damage Prevention in its entirety and adopt a new Chapter 270 Flood Control and Damage Prevention, to adopt flood hazard maps, to designate a floodplain administrator, and providing for severability and an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can someone move the ordinance, please?
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Holland,
I'll second it.
second by Councilman Roman.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I may, normally it's not discussion on first reading, But on this particular ordinance, I just wanted to say a couple things. One is, I spoke to Ms. Pearson. She did send out an email on this ordinance. One of the things she pointed out that we should change right now at first reading, if the council so is inclined, is the ordinance indicates, it actually points to Boswell as the engineer named, where it should actually be the general engineer designated by the township. So if that changed, also just like to point out to the council that 99% of this is a state mandated ordinance. At the time, Ms. Pearson wrote her very detailed letter. She did not know that at the time. I did send that to her. There are still things that need to be changed, but this particular ordinance, I'm hopeful that the council will consider because the state requires it. And in the event you didn't pass or you refuse to pass it, there are penalties up to and including the possibility of not being able to get flood protection through the federal program.
And we are obligated to pass this by the end of July. correct?
We are obligated, actually, we're obligated to pass it, I think by the 17th, but the clerk was nice enough to reach out and get us an extension. So they're aware that we're gonna have the first reading tonight and then hopefully the second reading at our next meeting on the 24th. So they're expecting it to be there on the 25th. But as any ordinance, what I told Ms. Pearson, I'm gonna work with her. We're going to make the changes that possibly will be considered by the state, then send that revised ordinance to the state and see if we can get them to approve a revised ordinance, which we'll come back to in the future. And there are other ordinances that she points out that have to be tweaked because of a change in state rules.
Great, thank you, Mr. Lawyer. Any discussion from the council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Did we want to change?
With the change
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Change as amended.
Okay,
that was on page 3.
yes. Thank you.
So that is the amendment from the council. We'll consider it.
Yeah. the new
We'll
one.
be voting on. Thank you. And
Okay, thank you.
Or we second it, yes.
thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yes.
Mayor Ordinance H1 will be numbered 2023-29, and it would be published according to law. Public hearing will be held on July 24th.
Thank you. Madam Clerk. The next item on the agenda, marked as H2, is another ordinance on first reading. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the ordinance to the record?
Bond ordinance providing for the reconstruction of Boston Drive, Windmere Road, and Whitney Terrace in and by the Township of Verona in the County of Essex, New Jersey, appropriating $1,400,000 therefore, including a New Jersey Department of Transportation grant expected to be received in the amount of $300,000, and authorizing the issuance of $1,333,000 in bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would somebody move the ordinance, please?
So moved.
Motion by Deputy Mayor McAvoy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman McGrath.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself from this item.
Thank you. Noted. Any discussion? Okay, call the question. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yes.
Mayor H2 will be numbered 2023-30, will be published according to law, and a public hearing will be held on July 24th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on the agenda is a third ordinance marked H3 for the first reading. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the record?
A bond ordinance providing for the reconstruction of Douglas Place in and by the Township of Verona in the County of Essex, New Jersey, appropriating $650,000 therefore, including a New Jersey Department of Transportation grant expected to be received in the amount of $422,450, and authorizing the issuance of $619,000 in bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Roman. Is there any discussion?
Question. The number's right in this?
On council.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
The tree.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yeah.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yes.
Mayor Ordinance H3 will be numbered 2023-31, will be published according to law and a public hearing will be held on July 24th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on the agenda is ordinance marked H4, first reading. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of this ordinance into the record?
A bond ordinance providing a supplemental appropriation of $500,000 for preliminary planning expenses for improvements at the Fairview Avenue and Lynn Drive Wells in and by the Township of Verona in the County of Essex, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $476,000 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would somebody move the ordinance, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Councilwoman McGrath, second by Councilman Holland. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamboro.
Yes.
Mayor H4 be number 2023-32 and will be published according to law. A public hearing will be held on July 24th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on the agenda is ordinance marked H5. It is also on first reading. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the ordinance into the record?
A capital ordinance by appropriating $26,000 from the Water Sewer Capital Improvement Fund for the assessment of the wastewater treatment plant in the Township of Verona in the County of Essex, New Jersey.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by Deputy Mayor McAvoy and second by Councilman. And is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamboro.
Yes.
Mayor, H5 will be numbered 2023-33, and will be published according to law. Public hearing will be held on July 24th.
Clerk. We'll give everybody a chance to turn their agenda over. The next item on the agenda is ordinance on first reading as well. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of this ordinance, number 86 in the record?
Capital ordinance by appropriating $20,000 from the Pool Capital Improvement Fund for the pool splash pad project in the Township of Verona, County of Essex, New Jersey.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Holland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman McGrath. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamboro.
Yes.
Mayor H6 will be number 2023-34. It will be published according to law and a public hearing will be held on July 24th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our next item on the agenda is an ordinance marked H7 on first reading. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of this ordinance?
Amending the Code of the Township of Verona, Chapter 5, Administration of Government, Article 2, Township Council, Chapter 5-14, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Paragraph A, to allow for the flexibility in the location of the annual organization meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Councilman Roman and seconded by Deputy Mayor McAvoy. Is there any discussion?
There. So in 3 election cycles, July 1st will fall on a Sunday. Are we still okay with having 10 a.m. since that falls in the morning with many religious services, and we do invite our religious leaders?
Excellent point. Members of the council.
It's a very good point. I'll agree on that.
The leap year.
It has to be, of course, because nothing can be easy in legislation.
I just wanted to.
I mean,
That is
is
an excellent point.
this something where maybe we simply want to allow a group of times and we select from one of them, or just a third choice if none of the above are feasible for reasons determined by the council?
We've done the weekends now, you've done the weekdays, you could simply add Sunday if you'd like, so it could be 10 o'clock on Saturday and noon on Sunday, making up numbers, or 1 o'clock on Sunday, whatever you're.
Well, why don't we make it 1 o'clock on Sunday? Because the reason we made it 10 o'clock was so that our state and federal representatives didn't have to decide between us and Cedar Grove.
That's true.
So
I'd say 2 on Sunday.
2 o'clock on
And
Sunday.
if there's services at noon,
You
it
do
gives time.
typically-
Give time for the clergy to get here.
You do typically have a 12:30 mass.
So 10 o'clock Sunday, 2 o'clock The 12 o'clock Saturday, sorry, 10 o'clock Saturday, 2 o'clock Sunday, 6 o'clock weekday.
Councilman, would you like to amend your motion to include the amendments at the days?
I would move this with those amendments incorporated.
Deputy Mayor, do you second that?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, thank you, Councilwoman McGrath, for bringing that up. Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilman McGrath,
Yes,
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamboro.
Yes,
Mayor, with the amendment, ordinance H7 will be number 2023-35. It will be published according to law, and a public hearing will be held on July 24th.
thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on the agenda is an ordinance on first reading marked H8. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of this ordinance into the record?
Amending the code of the Township of Verona, Chapter 140, Vehicles and Traffic, and Article 2, Parking, Stopping, and Standing by the creation of a Chapter 140-12.2, Parking Prohibited within 4 feet of a driveway.
I understand that before we move this, there have been some discussion, Mr. Diarco.
Yes.
We can move the ordinance for discussion and then discuss it. Or if you were going to pull the ordinance and start again, we can do that as well.
I'm recommending we table the ordinance. The chief is here. We looked at, and the chief has with the traffic division with all the concerns of the residents, and the chief has to be here to address it.
Chief Kiernan,
Thanks, chief.
welcome, Chief. Good to
Good
see
evening,
you.
everyone. Yes, in regards to this ordinance, well, we thought it was a sound plan. We received a lot of feedback with some valid concerns that would take away a lot of parking, especially in and around the schools. So in speaking with Mr. Diarco, we thought that we would hold this and come up with something that would be more feasible for the greater good of the community.
Thank you, Chief Kiernan. I appreciate you looking into that. I know several council members spoke to residents. I walked my dog to some places around the schools that people asked that might be an issue, and appreciate you looking into this and for your knowledge and expertise on this area. Being that it's not been moved, I don't think we need to move to table it. So we'll move on to this being marked as H9. Clerk, would you please, this is another item on the agenda, is an ordinance H9 on first reading. Would you please read the title of this ordinance into the record?
Amending the code of the Township of Verona by the creation of a Chapter 222 entitled Display of Flags and Municipal Building Color Lighting, and eliminating Article 2 of Chapter 370 entitled Display of Flags.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would somebody move the ordinance, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Roman, second by Councilman Holland. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilman McGrath,
yes,
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamboro.
Yes,
Mayor H9 will be number 2023-36 and will be published according to law, and a public hearing will be held on July 24th.
thank you, Madam Clerk. That concludes our ordinances on first reading. We move on to our consent agenda. There are 5 items on the consent agenda, 3 sets of minutes. The May 15th regular meeting, the June 26th regular meeting, the July 1st reorganizational meeting. There's a K1 is a resolution authorizing execution of a treatment works permit application. And K2 is a resolution to go into executive session. And we do have items on the executive session this evening, including purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property and pending ongoing participated litigation contract negotiations.
Mayor.
Mr. Diarco, do you want to briefly go through the K1, please? And then we'll have public comment.
You want-
I forgot.
I was looking for that resolution.
Yep.
It's so quick.
This is why we have a very good.
Yes, yes. And it's relative to the Lynn Drive well facility and PFAS and arsenic treatment for that well. We need a resolution to process it. Mayor, and if I may, while I was in my office before the meeting, I did get confirmation that for the public's information, On July 31st, the DMV mobile unit will be at the Rec Center Community Center. And that usually gets booked up very fast for our residents, and that announcement will be up tomorrow.
Great, thank you so much, Mr. Dr. Madam Clerk.
I'm sorry, Mayor, but I submitted the May 15th minutes, but I'm holding the June and reorg minutes.
Okay.
I have, so
Perfect.
just
So we'll
approve the
those-
May 15th.
So just the May 15th.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Madam Clerk. All right, at this time, we're gonna open the meeting for public comment on consent agenda items only. So the one set of minutes, the treatment works permit application, and the resolution to go into executive session. Clerk, could you please read the open public, the participation statement.
Anyone from the public wishing to speak on the consent agenda only, please raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button on your monitor. If you're dialing in by phone, you might press *9. If you are visiting us in person, you may approach the lectern. Once you're recognized, please clearly state your name and only township of residence for the record. Not required to provide your street address, but if you do, please note these meetings will be posted on the YouTube channel of the township, and the addresses will not be redacted for any purpose. You have 4 minutes to address the council. And after everyone wishing to speak has been heard, the council may address your comments and or questions. It is opened.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. A minute to raise their hands virtually. Unless Chief Kiernan, you want to come up again, we always love to have you. Okay. Seeing no requests for public participation, I'm going to close public comment at this time. Would somebody like to move the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second. It has been moved by Councilwoman McGrath and seconded by Councilman Roman. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yes.
Mayor, resolutions K1 and K2 will be numbered 145, 146.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we do have an addendum this evening. The addendum is a request for approval from the County of Essex for the installation of exclusive pedestrian crosswalk on Grove Avenue. Mr. Township Manager, would you share where this is going to be?
I just did the resolution.
You said you wanted him to come back up.
I like the white shirt, so
This is in regards to a painted crosswalk on Grove Avenue at the intersection of Temple. Grove Avenue obviously being a county road, this would be the formal request from the county. We have no painted crosswalk in approximately 1,500 feet in either direction. This would assist not only area residents, but some of the businesses that are located within the old PK Braces building. I guess I'm dating myself with that. That's exactly one for that.
okay. Thank you, Chief Kieran. Any questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief.
Mayor, if I may, I modified the standard resolution provided by the county because they included in their costs and responsibilities to the township, which is not normal practice. So that was modified. You're approving that to go to the county, and I'll see the reaction.
Thank you. It is a county road.
Yes, it is.
We will be asking for their help on this one. I'm going to open now for public comment on the addendum only. The same public comment statement applies.
Sure. Yes.
Madam Clerk, are we open for public?
We are open for public comment, Mayor. If you're on Zoom, you can press the raise hand button on your monitor.
Seeing no public participation, I'm going to close public comment at this time. Would somebody like to move the addendum M1?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Motion by Councilman McGrath. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard Councilwoman Holland. Is there any discussion from the council? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yes.
Mayor, the addendum M1 will be numbered resolution 2023-146. I'm sorry, 147.
We are moving to new and unfinished business at this time. The first item is something we've been discussing for some time, scheduling an opportunity to hear from candidates to be a new township planner to help us with several items, including our downtown, rewriting our zoning code. There's several very important things on the agenda, especially after the master plan was adopted. So at this point, the township manager has made a recommendation that we have a meeting. We really just need to schedule this. Mr. Township Manager, how many firms did you want to interview?
Well, the council had the entire list from the beginning of the year. I think in my memo to you, there was 3 I recommended to already use. And all I need the council to do is send me a list of dates that everybody would prefer to have it, considering your personal schedules, vacations, etc. And then I'll do a matrix and see where everybody agrees on some dates, and I'll get that out to the council. But I would ask that you please do that as soon as we can, so I can get this in order for you.
We'll bring that into the next discussion. I had spoken to Councilwoman McGrath about us potentially, if there's no objection, the rest of the council
No.
doing this as a Zoom format meeting. Is that okay
Whatever
with
the council
everybody?
prefers, but you're gonna be interviewing the candidates when we select that date, so I'm not sure what your preference is, by Zoom or in person.
I think as far as we had some conversations offline, and it seems like we basically have 3 options, or dates, really 2 for this. One is either to do another evening meeting starting a little earlier perhaps, or one is to do, depending on Councilman Roman's schedule, potentially like a Friday afternoon, like later in the Friday afternoon. But if we did it by Zoom, that would be a little easier on everybody. My thought would be is if we could provide some guidance to the firms that we are interviewing and give them a time limit, really, of a presentation. I don't think anything more than 15 minutes and then another time for questions. It's always my expectation, and if you could share this with the firms when we do have that date, is that they should be providing us all of their materials several weeks in advance.
Yeah.
So we can look at them and ask intelligent questions and be well prepared. That is going to be, the expectation. We've already talked about this today, but really anybody coming before us needs to provide us that advanced information. And Zoom will be a lot easier for us to look at the presentation and look at that. So
We'll get the packages in advance for you. We'll tell them to supply PDFs. And if I get all of the areas that you want to cover, I know my interest was your downtown and any other areas you want them to address, I'll be that specific. So if you can send that to me also, each council member and mayor, so I get everybody's thoughts in line on this. What?
Council.
Okay.
Yes, if, I think the downtown is great. I think the other area of focus, I'm sure the deputy mayor would agree, is taking our master plan and drafting. Really, the first order of business is taking the master plan and kind of drafting
The zoning.
the zoning and where we have things that we still need to analyze. From that master plan, because some things were left a little open. So I think that's one, and I think downtown is definitely the second, at least from my point of view.
I tend to agree on those items, and I think it would be helpful when the firms come, but to give us more of a Verona specific presentation rather than just this is what our firm does. We really need to see what their fluency with our issues is, their familiarity, that they've looked at our master plan, that they understand that, they have driven down Bloomfield Avenue would certainly be helpful for anybody coming in, walked the streets a little bit would be my expectation for anybody coming to interview.
There are, I can give a little bit more color on areas that we would want to be concerned about in planning, more so than just, obviously downtown is crucial, but when you think about the issues we're going to be dealing with over the life of this master plan, we have the regional retail zone. We have 251.5 Grove is another one we need to figure out what will happen there. We should get some of their thoughts on where certain uses such as professional office are going, because that's going to be a rapidly changing use, medical office as well, just to kind of, I'd like to see what their future thinking is like. And then we do have these specific planning needs. I'm sure that every town has a large shopping center like our regional retail. Show us your work from past areas of past projects. Those are kind of some of the big ones that are on my mind.
hence why, I said be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're, so I get everybody's, and then limiting the time will eliminate the
That's
peripheral, whatever, dog and pony show we don't need to see.
right. That's the problem. There's, 15 minutes. You can either, if we really want to get into the meat of these things and really get some exemplars of their work and how they've dealt with situations, that's something I would say they should use the majority of their time on, is kind of giving us their background with specifics as to work they've done that maps to Verona.
I just wanted to add too, like figuring out like new parking requirements is another thing, like I would love to hear their pitch on it, how they're gonna help us navigate that, because that seems to be an area that's has changed and that we're maybe out of date. But I agree, I mean, 15 minutes is not a lot of time, but how my big thing with these presentations, I want to understand from the firm, how will they help us navigate through in an efficient way, right? So the budget's not unlimited, so how are we going to work through this quickly and efficiently? How would they navigate, like, what do we do first, what do we do second, and what's realistic?
Are we sure that 15 minutes is enough? I mean,
I included, I was thinking 15 minutes and 15 minutes at least for questions, until we're done.
right.
But, we would have probably read some of the materials first. I'm willing to stay for as long as we are comfortable and we need to do.
Right.
So did you want to say 20 minutes and
Yeah.
20 minutes?
Yeah, I'd say probably 20 and 20.
So, and if we interview 3 firms that clerk had asked for our preferences on the
Right.
firms. So we interviewed 3 firms at 40 minutes apiece, it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right, and then we need time as well to discuss who we would like to hire. So the meeting, we need to schedule about 3 hours for this meeting. I would say is a fair.
There are 3 that everybody.
Excellent.
All right,
I think so.
This is, we are really planning the future of the hunting. And so it's very,
Do we need 3 or is that our number?
I think 3 was gonna be our number.
We had what, 5 applied?
you had 5.
Right.
So I've already emailed, because
Yeah,
there was
well.
requests that we had emailed, and we're gonna email you our top priorities
Yeah.
as well. Okay.
Oh, I don't miss
I
any of
emailed-
those.
And I
And
think
the clerk has
also-
whispered in my ear that some of the council members have provided that information. already.
we, just like we asked the staff for timelines and deadlines, I would like to establish a deadline for the council to get to you on this. Is Wednesday, close the business, okay for everybody? Provide your feedback on what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, let's provide in writing, just so nothing is missed. We want to give that, because sometimes our conversation doesn't necessarily translate to
Great.
what it is, so we can all put it in writing. I appreciate your thoughtful comments, just get it in writing
And
so we can.
Jensen's
Yeah,
indicated
Mayor.
she's received some.
Yeah, if you'd like, I'd put together what, in bullet points, what the council has expressed tonight to everybody. Then they can give the feedback on that.
Perfect.
And one other thing is that there were 2 firms everybody agreed on. But there were 3 overall. So we'll have 3. Excellent.
When we talk to these firms, let's just please stress what you just said, that we want to know what they want to do for Verona specifically. We have their resume and seen their
Understood.
prior projects. We know what they're capable of, but bring it home here.
And you should tell them
Understood.
this, we tend to ask questions, lots and lots of questions, and that's good, but do prepare them for that as well. Please.
Understood.
And then for dates,
I think we'll,
if you want to move forward on this now and then get to dates a little bit later.
correct, so why don't we move on to the second one, because we need to now discuss 2 sets of dates, and we'll talk about how we want to do the dates. The clerk and I have kind of come up with a plan for how we're gonna get dates, but we'll talk about that a little bit at the end.
Great,
What
perfect.
dates and
Okay.
all right, thank you for your participation on that. The second item of new business is talking about our goal setting meeting. This is something that I appreciate the council support on, so they've been looking forward to doing for a couple of years, and I think now is a great time to do it, now the master plan is done. My vision for this, and I've spoken to the council members individually, is to really have everybody come to the table with what our competing priorities are. About that, what we see coming down the line. In addition, our township manager will bring his priorities. We also need to have a a very robust conversation about budget and capital planning in this as well. I see us having, this would be obviously an open public meeting. I would like to, if there's no objection from the council, move the meeting from here to the conference room at the community center. We can still have public participation. The reason being is I would like us to be sitting around a table to have this meeting so we can really talk to each other and discuss. This is our goal setting time. That's possible, right? Ms. Kieran?
Absolutely, and we have the conference room here as well.
Yeah.
With the same setup,
That's
wherever you're
that's what
comfortable.
I like it. We had a meeting there today.
Okay.
You can spread out there. It's there, but we can still have public participation, which I think is important, but I would like us all to sit at the table. I think that's very important for a discussion type meeting. It's a little tight in there, and then the township attorney will insist on standing if we have a meeting or a little conference room. That's nervous and it'll be a whole thing. And yeah, pardon.
Do we have enough room if members of the public want to show up? Be in the room with us?
Will it be on Zoom?
we would do it. We do
Just
the
doing
public
it via Zoom.
participation on Zoom. I mean, there is,
We can do that, that's our.
yeah, it's the public
That's allowed.
participation.
The public needs to be allowed to be in the room.
In the room.
So public shows up, one of the things we could do is we could have a round table set up in the bar.
Yeah, we
That's
just,
the way to do it.
Just in case.
but we don't have the video conferencing capability there.
And we bring it with us. It's just,
I was just. Okay.
That's not. Okay, I have to look into that.
Alex, take care of it.
Yeah.
Zoom together.
You're now in charge of
Yeah.
this.
All right, the conference room over there does have,
There's plenty of extra seating. If
That's not
that's
too
one
bad.
of the simple ones.
I think we might be able to put some in that.
I still
Oh,
want to
works,
connect.
yeah.
We can, let's figure out a date first.
We'll work.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But I think it would be helpful. in
Yeah.
that way. But there is plenty of room. We can have some room on the side and really encourage people to
Yes.
participate by Zoom.
Mhm.
If we can, and when we get the notice out. My hope is that after our discussions here, we'll be able to use this information to really make a priority list, a legislative calendar, and also appoint subcommittees or special committees of the council to investigate and to proceed on some of these things based on what we see. Be asking the council to come forward with those things, and I'll get out what my suggested platform and procedure for this is. But that leads us to setting another date. So as we have three options: another evening meeting, we'd start a little earlier. I know we do have council members who commute, so that's something you need to take into consideration. If Friday, starting at like a 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, Friday hours work for members, or a weekend, which based on my informal polling seems to be the least attractive option for the council in the middle of the summer, which I can appreciate. My recommendation as far as scheduling, and I've talked to Ms. Kieran about this, is for both of these things for the council to send blackout dates, really dates we are not available at all, rather than trying to send dates we are or that we prefer.
Mhm.
And just send these are ones we're absolutely not available. We have vacation, we have for evening meetings, a Friday afternoon meeting, and potentially a Saturday, which I know we want to try to avoid. But just absolute dates we cannot do, and then ask the clerk and the manager to use their discretion to pick a date and go to the conference with us and say, is that acceptable to everybody? As a way to proceed.
Mayor, do you want to try to set the goal setting first meeting before we do the planner? Is there an order? Does it matter?
I think we need to, my recommendation is we actually do the planner first. That'll give me some time to establish and work with and get information out, because we need to have a couple of conversations with
Right.
council members individually. 4 conversations to be exact, with how we want to proceed with this. And then, but we could do the planner first and get the planner working. I think that's important. Then maybe schedule the goal setting meeting toward August.
Okay.
Middle or end of August.
Okay, we would, yes, very good.
Is that okay with everybody?
I think both will be in August.
Yeah, I think they're probably gonna have to be at this point. But I think the planner should be first, because we've been talking about this for a while, and Mr. Yarko has made a good point. And thank you to the town clerk and the manager for doing the logistics of all of this. I think both would be very valuable. Is there any other new business for the council?
If I may, so we are providing our desired planner information, if we have not already, by close of business on Wednesday, and blackout dates also by close of business.
Do the same, yeah.
Yeah, the,
I'm just curious if you can get us dates, maybe by Friday, we can lock them in. That's possible.
sure,
That would be,
Yeah.
and that way we don't give our dates away. And that would be ideal. Of course, the town attorney and township manager will need to have their schedules available as well.
and the council will just be, I mean, for the engineers, the planners, I'm sorry, we're set. Like, we know which ones, we're gonna just get the
Right.
bullet points of what you expect or want them to go over, just to, okay, thank you.
Send it out,
I'll
to
do that,
consolidate
okay.
20 minutes, log 20 minutes of questions. We tell them we're gonna keep to a tight timeline.
Gotcha.
Just for the, out of respect for everybody participating. in this
Okay.
Meeting, and that'll be a Zoom meeting. There's no objections.
All right,
Any other new business for the council? All right. Hearing none, I'm going to open the meeting once again, for public comment. Same public comment statement applies as earlier in the meeting. Madam Clerk?
I'll read the whole
Yeah, you
Any,
can.
yeah, so anyone from the public wishing to speak on any matter, please raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button on your monitor. If you're dialing in by phone, you may press *9. When you're recognized, clearly state your name, township of residence for the record. You're not required to provide your street address. However, if you do, please note these meetings will be posted on the township's YouTube channel and the addresses will not be redacted for any purpose. You will have 4 minutes to address the council. After everyone wishing to speak has been heard, the council may address your comments and or questions. It's opened.
Seeing no request for public comment, going to close public comment at this time. At this point, the public portion of the meeting has concluded. Be moving to executive session. Could I have a motion to go to executive session?
So moved.
There'll be no
No action.
action taken.
No.
Okay.
I'm second the motion.
All right, I heard Councilman Holland move and Councilman Roman second. Is there a discussion on that motion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everybody. And we'll take a 10-minute break. And we'll.
All right. Don't everybody leave all at once.